Well, hello folks, and welcome to 316 Automotive. What's in the shop today? We've got here a 1995 Yardman 8 horsepower chipper shredder. I just bought it a few weeks ago. It runs okay, but it's got low compression. So I'm going to show you how to take care of that. I suspect what it is a valve issue, but we'll get to that and I'll show you. Okay, what I've done here is I've pulled out the spark plug. It looks fine, and I've got the fuel shutoff valve in the off position, and I got my compression tester, and I'll give you a good view of that. And I'm going to pull it through 5-6 times, half a dozen times, something like that, and we're going to see where it ends up. And then we're going to take out the compression tester. I'm going to squirt some oil in there, and we're going to put the compression tester back in, and another half a dozen times through there. If with that oil in the cylinder the compression changes quite a bit, well, we know there's going to be a ring and or cylinder issue. If it doesn't change too much, a little bit, then we know it's a valve issue. I suspect valve, but we'll see. All right, here we go. That pressure reading was about 45, 48 psi, just under 50 psi. And these things need to be about 80-ish in order to be considered a healthy engine. So I just did about 2 squirts of motor oil in the cylinder, and now we'll do it again. Okay, here we go with the check post oil. Okay, we're up to about 63, from 48 to 63. All right, now since we got to get the engine apart, you got to take the chute off. I'll show you all this. Got to take the chute off. You got to take the gas tank. You got to take the rope starter. You got to take, got to get the carburetor off, muffler, etc. And then you can get to this engine. It's a flathead, by the way. So, all right, let's get that going. All right. There you can see the valves, and right at the bottom there we're going to do our test for with our feeler gauges. Alright guys, I got the engine apart here, and the valves, they were within spec, but with these air-cooled engines I like to have a little bit of more clearance at the stem here, because I'll show you what happening. You see what's happening there? Or what was happening. That push rod there, and that's the intake push rod, that's the exhaust push rod. They go up and down. Watch. I'll do it. Here we go. See that? Well, how you adjust the valves. Now I got it back up here. The clanking that you hear is inside here. It's the flails that flop around in there. Don't get your hand in there when this thing's going. So I took both the valves, and you sand on the end of the stem of each one, and then you keep checking with some feeler gauges. The exhaust valve I put to 12 thousandths, and the intake I put to 11, and on the high side of the tolerance. So that's the clearance you want between those push rods there and the valve stems, the end of the valve stems. And then, for added measure, you see the shiny ring around the valve? Both of them. I went and lapped them in with this handy dandy lapping tool right here. That's pretty cool. Put the suction cup on there and put some lapping compound right there and on the valve seat, and just crank the handle, and the suction cup grabs onto the head of the valve and it rotates it like that, back and forth, kind of around in a circle, but back and forth as well. It's a very clever mechanism. And I did that for about, I don't know, 3-4 minutes each one, and that got a nice shiny circle around the valve seat there. And then you clean it all up, and you can put it all back together. So the other thing that possibly was causing the low compression, and I hope it's not this, but the cylinder here, it looks like it's got schmutz in it from all the stuff I've been doing, but it looks like there's a good cross hatching in there, and so I hope it's not wore out and egg-shaped, ovalated on the inside. Let me see if I can get there's striations up and down. It might be wore out to some extent. I'm hoping I got this thing, going to get the compression up a little bit better with the valve job, the valve lapping, and this thing here, really spongy and old, the gasket, head gasket. So I got a new one, and that's going to be a lot tougher. I cleaned off all these surfaces. That head gasket just peeled off in layers, and is very soft and kind of gooey. So, all right, because if it's the cylinder that's the main problem, well, I'm just going to run it the way it is, because I ain't going any further than this. This is the extent of it. So, all right, putting her back together. Oh, hey, one thing I forgot. These valves here, how do I hold them straight up and down to get a nice clean sanding on the bottom there? Because your hand is going to waver all around. How did I do that? Oh, what in the heck? Look at that. Some guy drilled a hole in this piece of wood here. Oh, and then I just went and I rubbed the piece of wood on there, holding my finger on the valve, and that keeps it pretty darn straight up and down. Little top tip there. Use wood when you have to use wood. All right, guys, we're in the going back together phase. I got things on loosely, and you want to take good pictures. I had good pictures of the way the throttle linkage goes there, where it goes, as opposed to the fuel line, etc. And they will come in very, very handy when you're reassembling, so be aware of that. And also, this is all new fuel line. I replumbed the gas tank. You can see the fuel lines on the back side of it. But then over here, all new fuel lines. They were real spongy and cracking, and so There was no way I was going to put all this effort into it and not put new fuel lines, so I did that. Okay, here we go. Okay, you remember when we first did the compression test, before putting oil into the cylinder, we got 48 psi. Then we put oil in the system, in the cylinder, and we've got 63 psi. And now post-repair, we've got 68 psi, and that is without any oil in the cylinder. You hear that? Start up first pull. I let it idle, and I turn off the fuel so it'll drain the fuel bowl in the carburetor, and that way I don't leave any gas in there, for weeks or months when I'm not using it. So it idles a little bit as the gas runs out of the carburetor, and then it shuts itself off. Shut off valve. That's how I shut these things down. So this thing runs good. Started on the first pull. After I run it for an hour or so, when I'm chipping wood next, I'll take off the tops here and I'll retorque the head bolts. And oh, by the way, the head bolts are 200 inch-pounds. So I went around, crisscross pattern and torqued them up, I think 3 times to get to 200 inch-pounds. So I'll just give that a once-over when we get to there. All right, this is Maury Thibodeau, and remember, if you have a problem, if no one can help, and if you can find us, maybe you can hire 316 Automotive. See ya.